begin presentation. So the topic for our presentation today is healthy relationships, consent, and personal boundaries. Awkward to ask in terms of how we speak with our children about consent. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself a little bit before we get started. My name is Brittany. I know it says Jess Kyrie is presenting, but she couldn't make it today, so I'm here. I am a new grad from the University of Toronto. I studied women and gender studies as well as sociology. And I am working now with SABIS. And SABIS is an organization that works with community agencies to develop customized presentations like the one that we're having today that meet the needs of the community. SABIS provides educational presentations on various topics, but they are not limited to, so we have presentations on healthy relationships, bullying, dating violence, etc. And all of our services are free and immediate as well as confidential. If you guys need any of our telephone numbers at all afterwards, please see me and I'll be able to get back to you. So this is a safe place. The topic of healthy relationships and sexual harassment can be uncomfortable for sure and embarrassing to talk about with our teens. And I hope that this can be a safe space where we can talk about any issues. I definitely welcome any questions or issues at all that during the course of the presentation. So types of relationships. I'm just going to walk over to this board and we'll jot where we learn about relationships. So I just want everyone to be inclusive, be honest, and I'm just going to jot down a few notes on where we learn about relationships. So if anybody wants to start or any suggestions?
Our family.
Families. Anyone else?
Excellent.
School?
Friends.
Friends.
Clubs or organizations.
Clubs or organizations. Sports. Sports.
Media.
Media. Work.
Work. For sure.
I think these are all really great social institutions that internalize and teach us how we learn about relationships and how to develop healthy friendships as well. And the reason why I did this is because before we can talk about healthy relationships, we need to learn about where it comes from and understand that. So are there any examples at all that any one of us can
Like when you're in school, you learn how to share and to take turns.
Yes.
And, everybody, it's equal for everybody. I mean, if it's not equal, then there's reasons why it's not equal.
Any other examples?
At home, you watch the parents, how they behave with each other, that's how they pick the kids pick it up.
You could be about to say something. No? Okay. So I just have it on.
Just press enter.
It's yeah.
Want me to find somebody going to take cookies?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, maybe those two can help you. They're here from this group. Frozen.
There's the analysis, there's the diagnostics right there. Frozen.
That's just what she did.
So my next approach would be control alt delete.
Yeah, I was gonna say same, remove.
We start.
Right, that's you just press the power button. Manually force up down.
And reboot.
Start all over. I have no clue.
Turn on and off.
Okay,
turn it on.
so you can just reach
On and off.
program.
Yeah, that was thinking sometimes.
For you sometimes. No.
Maybe you can take that thingy up on first.
This?
The injector.
I can go get someone if you want. Yeah, I'll go. I'll go front. Oh, here he is. Yeah.
We're just telling her to restart.
I turned it on. These images that we see here on the screen are pretty much the ones that we came up together with as a group. It's important to understand that sometimes information that we learn as we're growing up makes it difficult for us to recognize characteristics of healthy and unhealthy relationships. So many of us learn from watching, like you said, and imitating from the people that are closest to us. Someone who has lived around violent or disrespectful behavior may not have learned how to treat others with kindness and respect, or how to treat them with the same treatment. So we're just going to go ahead. And this is another activity where we just sum up and come up together inclusively what love is and what love isn't. It's also extremely important to understand. Respectful? Respect.
It's two-sided.
11. Unselfish.
Unselfish.
Selfish.
I'll say love is kind. Do you have any other? Unkind. Love isn't. So I'm leave a few of these up here, and what this does is it just really helps us explain to our children how to love others, how to like others, how to be fair. And it's important to understand this before we can move forward and let them know as well that it's a non-judgmental space and how we deal with that. So the next slide here is I have a relationship equity wheel. It has all of the other qualities on there of how to have a healthy relationship that weren't mentioned on the board earlier. So honesty and accepting responsibility for oneself. Can you see? Non-threatening behavior, just feeling safe. Negotiation and fairness. Communication. Shared power, making decisions together. And respect, valuing opinions and the boundaries of others. Trusting and supporting is how we build healthy relationships, as well as supporting independence and growth. The next slide is going to talk about types of abuse. So So there's physical abuse, emotional, psychological, and verbal abuse, financial or economic abuse, and cyber legal abuse. So a relationship it's very important to understand that a relationship is unhealthy when it's mean, it's disrespectful, things that we've mentioned up there. And it's very important for us to analyze the different types of abuse because sometimes it's hard to see it when it's happening and we question ourselves.
So I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. I was trying to decide between two sections.
Yeah.
So when you're talking like this, is this what we're supposed to, like, the topic was
To speak with our children.
So is that
our
what
teens.
what you're saying is what
To
we
say
would
with our
say
teens.
to a child?
Yes.
Like, it's hard, we need to determine
What the
that-
different types of
Yes.
Sorry. So we have to remember that unhealthy relationship includes all types of relationships, whether it's with your family, your friends, your coworkers, and it's not just romantic relationships. People do, or teens for some, for what they've just been institutionalized around, feel as though you can only experience these healthy or unhealthy relationships when it's romantic, when it happens outside of that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and define the types of abuse that we have on there. So physical, what we need to let our children know is physical abuse is any unwanted or forced physical contact. Emotional, psychological, or verbal is any psychological treatment or behavior that has a negative impact on a person's well-being and quality of life. So examples of this can be calling kids names, insulting them, being forced to do something out of their will, that sort of thing. Financial or economic is any manipulation, controlling or enforcing money or property within a relationship. And then lastly is cyber, which is huge for the world that we're in now. For example, spying on someone's online or offline activity, sexting, as teens tend to do, and constantly texting or emailing someone to keep tabs on them. These are all variations of cyberbullying. And sexual is any unwanted or forced sexual contact, including sexual harassment, any comments, gestures, visual, that is sexual in nature, remarks, that sort of thing are all included. And it's really important for our teens especially to know what these mean. So again, I have a power and control wheel, which shows the opposite of what the first wheel did. It goes ahead and shows the negative and unhealthy sides of relationships, so unhealthy relationships, peer pressure, anger, emotional abuse, using social status, intimidation, minimizing, denying or blaming, threats, isolation. These are all negative, and it's very important to let our kids know. The power wheel shows how not to treat people, essentially.
Where could, example, a guy wants something from a girl and, I'll be your boyfriend if you do this.
Right.
Like, how would that fall in there? Because is it just an intimidation? But I don't find it truly intimidation. It's
I
like
wouldn't necessarily.
coercion.
Coercion, yes, for sure. So it's letting somebody know what you'll do or what they can't do for you or what you can do for them, and then using you to gain personal benefit. So consent, what is it? How do we ask for it? And I have these cartoons that I'm going to go around and show you. Fourth, and if we can just go ahead and pass it along so everyone understands. These cartoons are working as aids for us to see different scenarios in how consent takes place and ask how we can understand the topic of consent a little bit better. So it is sensitive subject and can become an issue of blaming or shaming an individual if we don't totally understand what consent So the first one that was passed around on this side mentions at the top, you were curious and wanted to explore, but after having the information, you are no longer interested. So the first person character in that cartoon says, I brought the cards. Now I can teach you poker. The friend says, cool. A short time after, they now see that, the friend mentions that, now that I know the rules, I don't think that this game is for me. The friend says, you can't invite me over to play cards and then not want to play cards. I went through all this trouble for you, so you owe me, and we're playing. That's the same coercion that we were explaining. Because somebody mentioned that they would do something the first time, doesn't necessarily mean that they're giving you consent to do it the second time. You are allowed to change your mind. It's very important for our teens to understand that because you said something once, doesn't mean that's forever. You can change. The second one mentioned, because you agreed, yes, so because you agreed once does not mean that you have to agree all the time. So that cartoon, which is right here, the big one, says, I really like the Fluffy Bunny's new song. And in the middle of the night,
That's working from
this friend
scratch.
is
Go to the
on the other side.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
So the second one says, I really like the Fluffy Bunny's new song. In the middle of the night, the friend starts blasting the song because the friend said that they really liked it. The friend says, what the heck? And he says, well, you said you liked this song. And the friend says, yeah, but I don't want to listen to it while I'm sleeping. So that's another sense of consent. I mean, yeah, I said that I like the song. Doesn't mean that I want to listen to it in the middle of the night, not when I'm sleeping. So that's another sense of consent, how we can understand consent. The third, you cannot give consent. This is huge and important for our teens, especially in this age that we're in. It's huge, and you cannot give consent if you're under the influence of drugs, or if you're asleep, or unconscious. So the first one is the image that's going around. There's a friend who is pointing to their shoulder and saying, that's the design I want someday right there, as in terms of a tattoo. And the friend, while they are unconscious, the person falls asleep and the person gives them a tattoo. You tattooed me while I was passed out. What's wrong with you? You said you wanted it, but I didn't want it when I was unconscious and didn't know what was happening. These are all versions of consent. And we have to understand when we're using the word consent that yes means yes and no means no. It's extremely important to do that. Without a clear yes, you do not have consent with anything. I'm gonna go ahead. Show you the video.
Oh, that is the TV.
Getting sex. You're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like it? If you're still struggling with consent, just If you're still struggling with consent, just
Did not happen in the first one. Thank you.
if you're still
I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. Is it okay if I show it to you through the laptop at all?
Probably just listen to it.
You can listen to it? Sure, why not?
Oh, but the stick people are so funny.
You've seen it?
Yeah, I'm a
Let me see if I
phys
can
ed teacher. I've seen it a million times.
I will turn this around for you. Do you want to come closer?
Oh, this, yes, I've seen.
You've seen it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Would you like to see it on the phone? Because I sent the link to somebody earlier today. It's good.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine sex. You're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? They go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea. Thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? They're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
My son's residence has a bulletin board right when you walk in the front door that's got a whole tea. It's all tea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all relating to this video. It's very well done.
So we can get that?
Just
You
Google
can,
it.
yes. We can get it. Yeah, for sure.
And there's a clean version and a not clean version.
Yeah,
So show your kids the clean version. Or the not clean version.
So the tea video, I believe, did a pretty exceptional job of further explaining what consent is and how we can even use that to explain what consent is. Just because you've mentioned something doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to mean the same thing in a different day or in a different time. The Canadian law does require us to take reasonable steps to find out whether the other person is consenting, which means saying yes. And it's extremely vital to let our teens know, because it is something that, without understanding, can get you into a lot of trouble. I'm going to show these icons on the screen. And these icons are associated with various social media outlets that most teens and even adults use today and visit on a day-to-day basis. Within the click of a button, so much sensitive information can be stored and sent through our phones, our laptops, our tablets, and hurt people that we know and love, unfortunately. The same way that it can also be used for good. I mean, I learned a lot about the PIC conference through Twitter when I was on my way here and as I was working on this presentation. And so we can see that, both the good and bad can be used from it, but it can also be used for negative things as well. And for this purpose, understanding how damaging social media can be, I want to explore the topic of cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is the use of electronic communication that is used to bully a person, typically by sending them messages of an intimidating or threatening nature. Children may be reluctant to admit to being victims of cyberbullying. with language and violence, when we use words, we carry the history of their original meanings.
Excuse me, what does this mean, history of their, I can understand the original meaning, but
Right.
the history, do we go back to the origin of the language?
No, not the origin of the words, but it's basically, let's say for an example, we use the word consent. Let's say consent for an example. We have to understand the true meaning of consent and where it's coming from in terms of the same history, the cycle that we're using. When we say history, we mean cycle for the purpose of this presentation. So the history is the cycle of the word that we'll be using. So consent is something, if not properly understood, can be changed. If you don't understand that yes means yes or no means no, then there's the history and the cycle of repeating what consent means. You don't get it? It's hard to see.
You tell a kid they can be charged if they ask how much and you mean criminally, that's
Right.
like what you're using, right?
Right.
Like you can tell a kid that they've done something for their consequences. You could be charged with that and they could say, well, how much is it going to be? Well, that's not what you mean, right? I mean, you could be charged criminally.
Right.
I think that's what
Right.
you mean.
Thank you. And by using negative terms, bad words, we can overlook violence that's happening, ignore and de-emphasize the seriousness of what those words mean. Become desensitized to violence again. So the next, it was supposed to be a clip, but it's not showing. So I have a slide that mentions that no one ever asks to be abused. Abuse is about power and control. So just because someone is your partner in the past does not mean that they're consenting to be your partner again with you in the future. If you are engaging with someone who is drunk or someone who is under the influence with drugs, even if they're not aware with it, it is important for our teens and our kids to understand that you can still be charged for pursuing these acts with them. Even if you are too drunk or intoxicated or under the influence with drugs, with a girl who is also in that same predicament, you can also be charged for that. And it's not sufficient defense to say that I was drunk as well. So it's important to let our children know, our teens know that our bodies, it's our body, it's our choice. We have the right to a safe body. We have the right to a healthy body. We have the right to a safe school, right to a safe community, and we have the right to talk to someone when we don't feel safe. So this is a way in which we can help our teens who may be experiencing situations that don't feel safe for them. It's great for you to listen, and a lot of survivors, I like to use the word survivors as opposed to victims, don't feel as though people believe them when they come out with what has happened to them. So it's great for you to believe them and thank them for being brave enough for even coming out and telling you. Let them know that it's not their faults and support them for everything. Continuously follow up with the child and ask, was the resolution successful? Is there any way that there's other additional help that we can do? An organization like Savis, we offer counseling and informal counseling as well. We offer accompaniment to court, to hospitals, and anything of that nature. So it's great to know about organizations that are in your area and region that can also do their part in helping you. So tips. There's great tips for parents that are in this room and outside the room. So getting educated on what consent is. Consent is a pretty tricky topic. I know for me growing up, it wasn't really something that we spoke about. Not sure why, but like in our school systems, for instance, we never spoke about consent. But it's great to, as a parent, as an educator, to just educate yourself and find good books that have solid information on what it is about this topic.
Do you have a suggestion of a good book?
Of a good book? I do not, unfortunately. No, I can definitely look some up and Google for you. Get comfortable. It's not the easiest thing to speak with your children about sex and consent and, you know, the harms that can come along with that. But it's definitely important to sit down with them and be comfortable and try your best to help them, because this is our future. Our teens are our future. Talk often with them about this topic as well, and choose the right times. So the right times is just any space or time that we're in that isn't rushing the topic. It's sensitive and needs to be cared and nurtured for and spoken about. So these are the other tips that we have here. Don't preach to kids, especially teens. They don't want to feel as though you're pressuring them and you're letting them know, you know, different things they sometimes want to go about and explore their own, their pathways. So you say what you have to say and then let it go. You've said it, they understand it. Make it a dialogue, something where they can communicate with you back and forth, as opposed to just, you know, saying what it is and then leaving it at that. Ask your child questions and listen to their answers. Multiple messages are okay. So it's okay to mention it not just once. It's very okay to do it more than once, just so you know that it's hitting home and they're understanding. Discuss dating and relationships. So just finding ways to talk about the importance of building strong relationships that include respect and honesty. You may say something like, on TV, dates always end up in bed. Dating should be a time to get to know someone. I want to go ahead on this board and just draw brainstorming ways in which we can talk to our teens. If there's anything that we didn't see necessarily in here, there's ways that we can all draw together and how we can speak with our teens. Does anyone have any ideas as how maybe we can talk to them?
Well, I find I don't know if it helps, but like if we're watching a movie or a TV show or something unrealistic happens or realistic,
Right.
just talking about it, especially the way that, you know, people fall in love and live happily ever after, and, you know, yeah, exactly, it's not always realistic.
Like we watched the old Rocky show, remember the Rocky movie? Like some of the older movies,
Yeah.
they're a bit disturbing when you look at it from today, right? Like there was some really inappropriate stuff there around consent. We thought, so we had a chat with the boys after, and they're like, of course we know, but we just thought we gotta spell it out so they don't,
Watch the US election, now you'll get
Well, exactly, there's a lot of everything.
blatant.
Yeah.
There's language you can use around the topic as well. Or have any of us come across any scenarios with our own kids that were surrounding the topic of consent that we'd like to share or helping each other?
You know the slide that you had there about where you tell them it's not their fault? When you go to say sexting,
Yes.
how as a parent do you try and not let them know that they've done wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though they're a victim, they've still done something wrong.
Right.
How would you communicate that?
So they are the individual doing, sending images?
Yeah, say somebody in their class asked them to send something, right? So that would make them a victim. But they've still done something that they shouldn't have done.
Right.
As a parent, I would freak. You know? How do you not freak on the victim?
Exactly. It's very difficult with the cell phone use, especially the app, we were talking about it earlier, Snapchat. You take an image of anything or a video and it plays for 10 seconds and disappears.
But does it?
But it
really?
doesn't, exactly,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. But to you, you've thought maybe you've sent this image to somebody and that's the end of it. It doesn't work like that. So letting our children know, I mean, you're not gonna go, your teen is not gonna come to you and let you know that mom or dad, I'm downloading Snapchat today, right? Unfortunately. But they're using it. It's just our role as the parents, just to let them know that, you know, these things like Facebook, like Instagram, all these outlets are not,
They don't go away.
they don't go away.
Mhm. But you can preach that, and they still do it.
They'll still do it. Just keep preaching it. I don't like to use the word preach. It's just great to keep that inclusive conversation going on and what can happen.
I think it's not preaching, it's information.
It is.
In my house, it's opposite. In my house, the rule is if you don't want it on the internet 20 years from now, don't put it there.
Mhm.
So my daughter, she's 13 years old, got filmed at school and it got put on the internet by our classmate. And she came home crying. My daughter doesn't even have a cell phone and came home crying about that thing because it's out there, right? There's nothing, really nothing you can much do. So it's really teaching your kids, if you don't want it there, guys, don't put it there. Doesn't matter what the media says,
Mhm.
on the internet, it's out there forever.
But I feel like I was at that point about media where I didn't want my kids being filmed all the time and pictures and this and that. But now I'm giving up because it's like everywhere you go. From school.
But you can't. You
I
cannot
would
give
love-
up on your own
I
kids.
wouldn't give up.
No,
You
I don't
cannot
mean
change
give up.
the
No,
environment.
but I'm just saying, you can't control, is what I
No.
realized, I can't control. Anywhere you go right now, one of you guys could be taking a picture of me, at school, at church. Like, it doesn't even have to be a negative sexting thing, but I'm just saying, I was trying to control.
But it's what you
The
post is
media.
more important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I actually get consent from my own kids.
So
I think
do
a
I.
lot of parents are posting stuff that their kids actually don't want to consent, you know.
Mhm.
But you can, I mean, it's also informing them that anywhere you are, you could be.
Yeah.
You can be at someone's house and they've got a security system. You don't even know, like, how, you know.
If you get a link for YouTube or something, it's like some video that's trending and it's just all these millions of hits. And sometimes you click on them and look, and it's a parent posting of a kid doing something silly or
Yeah.
stupid or, and it's kind of humiliating and you
Yeah.
feel bad and, it's like that accident, you think you should keep going, but you have to look, And I feel badly for the kids in those situations because they're young and they're going to grow up and this is going to be there forever, sitting there.
If you don't want it
And
20 years
so-
from
I
now,
like that.
To the point that
Don't
sometimes it's the parents doing it, right?
But-
Thank you.
my kids, if I want to post a photo of my kids, even just to my mom, I send it to Germany over WhatsApp because it's cheaper. I ask my son, do you mind if I send it over to grandma? As she only gets usually the pictures I send every couple of months. So I think consent has to start within the family for kids
Yeah,
to
modeling
learn.
that, yeah.
For sure. The social media app as well, I wouldn't necessarily call it social, but social media, WhatsApp, I get a bunch of videos from my mom, and she's not here, right? From videos and pictures and commentaries on different things, and it goes within the click of a button, literally, and it stays there. It stays in your chat on your phone for as long as you need it there. So again, like you said, it's really important to let our kids know that if you don't want your stuff out there, then it's best not to. But you also can't block that from what's happening because when things are going on or, everybody likes to feel in as opposed to excluded. And so if everyone's using Snapchat, they're going to use Snapchat. They just need to be informed the ways to use it, the proper ways that are not going to be harmful to themselves or to their friends.
Yeah, in 20 years, the digital world will look totally different. Because
Right.
those who are like now, when they grow up to that stage, that may be looking very old.
Exactly.
So it's an unknown territory now. It's as rightly,
That's how I feel. Like my child went to high school, and so I signed up on the Twitter feed. The principal is posting pictures from the grade 9 dance, and I'm like, I saw my neighbor's daughter. It was an unflattering picture of her, just in the moment. And I thought, oh, like that. Now maybe the kids don't follow Twitter, and maybe the kids are so photographed, it's not such a big deal. Whereas I was just like, oh, I'd be so embarrassed if that was me in grade 9.
Right.
But it's a different world than what we grew up in.
Right, for sure.
I think I'd be aware that future employers are looking at all of this.
That is very
That's
true.
the biggest thing.
That is very true. With Facebook, there is actually a way to delete your Facebook forever. If you type it into Google, permanently deactivating your Facebook, it'll go through that and then deactivate it. But Facebook is a big one for your employers, for sure. All your pictures, and it does. It's erased.
No, it's not.
On Facebook?
No, it's
I
not.
don't think so.
It's owned by
Because as
Facebook.
soon as, there you go.
Right.
It is not
Snapchat.
as soon as you put it on Facebook, it's not owned by you anymore.
Yes.
You gotta read the terms, it's owned by Facebook. And even as soon as a friend is tagged, it's still on their Facebook page. It doesn't belong to me anymore.
Right.
They did everything that it's under yours. But if the same picture is tagged your friends or somebody else in there,
Then it's on.
it's not gonna go anywhere. If you
Right.
don't want it there for the rest of your life.
Although you can untag yourself.
That's good.
Right. That's what I
Yes,
was gonna
but
say.
it's still on your friend, because if you're in the picture and your friend is tagged on there, it will stay on his profile.
The picture will, but you could
Yeah.
untag yourself. So
Yes.
in a
So
Although-
your name doesn't appear anymore until
Yeah.
somebody checks you because he sees the same picture
Right.
on your friend. So yeah,
and with photo recognition software improvement, I can imagine down the road you'll be able to search people that way.
Even Googling, if you take, let's say, a Facebook picture, copying and pasting it into the URL of a Google page, you can see exactly where it came from, when it was posted.
Okay.
Right. So it's really important to be tech savvy as well in terms of the media outlets that are out there.
Well, now Facebook even, it'll pull up photos of your, these are your friends that you're in photos the most.
Wow, really?
And and a friend of mine just had it happen to her, hasn't done it on mine, but I think sometimes you have to click that you want something, but she says, you and I are in a lot of photos together, because there were three of us that were popping up in most of the photos that she had taken. Yeah, and it's I said, oh, it's back over a few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not.
Oh, really?
No. I came off right after high school. That was, I think, 2009.
Kids don't really do Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
No,
That's
they
a
don't.
cool.
It's the Instagrams now and the
Facebook is for us oldies.
But that's another thing too. I know on Instagram, I don't know if any of us use that outlet. You can even track people down using tags. So if you type in a hashtag or something, and there's a bunch of hashtags, and you can directly go back to the source of where it came from. So it's just really important. I mean, like you said, before you even take a picture of your child, to get that consent and really understanding how consent can bring about so many different things, whether it's a picture that's going to be lasting on the internet forever or a criminal case, unfortunately, that somebody may get themselves into. So for sure. Is there any other brainstorms, scenarios with teens that we've gone through, that we've seen in terms of consent or healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships? I know you mentioned with Donald Trump, the U.S. presidents, yes.
I think generally I've got my eldest son is in second year university, while the other one is in the high school. I found that they're more sort of understand these issues and they don't really cross the boundaries. They generally, most of the students, if they don't, they do things respectfully. If somebody doesn't like something, it's not. Is that your observation? Is it a big thing?
It's a huge thing. It's a pretty big thing, and I think because everyone's child is different, it's not always the same to track how, consent is being risen across, and especially when you're mixed with different groups of friends at school. Maybe the friend that you hang around with doesn't have the same information that you do, or you're not knowledgeable on that topic at all either, and then you make assumptions of what consent is. Things like that can bring about issues for the kids, for sure. Dogomeshi scenario that took place. I know we had a presentation based upon that as well, and that's where, for me, it was my first time learning how big of a deal it was for kids not understanding how consent can take place, and how even victim blaming comes about from not understanding consent.
Is this covered now? This is covered in the new sex ed curriculum? Consent?
Does this cover
Yeah.
consent?
Is this covered in the new?
Yes, it is.
I thought
Absolutely
it
it
was.
is.
Yeah, like this, basically this
Yes.
message.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yes.
It's covered in grade 7.
6 now, right? It's always having in grade 6.
My kids get it, I teach high school, my kids get it every year, like,
Yeah.
Good.
it's,
Year in
That's
health,
good.
right?
yeah.
But my boys got the.
And they'll, it's like, it's a joke now. It's it's like, oh, can you just please show us that consent video, that T video, because it's so good. Sure, let's pull it up. And it's a good discussion point. One problem that I find from a high school perspective is the difference between oral sex and vaginal sex. And
Oral sex is
oral
a
sex
sex.
is a sex.
Right? Oh, these rainbow parties.
And it's no big deal.
No.
That's the issue that you're finding.
Absolutely.
Seriously not?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've told my daughter if I heard that she's coming to go to a rainbow party, I'll kill her.
A what party?
A rainbow party. You don't know.
It's based on
It's
lipstick colors.
Lipstick colors, yeah. Who gets the most? Right? Yeah.
Competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh. Like they have, and they hear it, but you're right, they don't think that's sex. That's the biggest issue.
And how can we go about, like, fixing that issue of not
Talk to your
understanding?
kids.
Yeah, but we have different perspectives, and it's hard to talk to them when you're seeing black and they're seeing white. They just don't understand. They're not grasping when you're trying to tell them that, okay, yeah, you think it's okay to have oral sex, but does that not lead to other things? Well, yeah, but I'm going to say no to the other things. Well, but if you're doing one, like, I don't know. It's-
I think it's more safe. Right? I think, I don't know. Maybe not, I don't know.
But why is saying yes to that
Yeah.
not the same as saying yes to intercourse? I don't understand that. Like,
But once something becomes the norm, then you have to move to the next step to rebel,
It's hard to
right?
break that.
Which is scary, but I mean, you think back long ago that, kissing or petting and all that kind of stuff was, not good, and then it's just acceptable, so now then you move on and you just keep moving, yeah.
We're in hands, that's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
That's how it starts. So whatever is norm for us
Yeah.
might not have been norm for my parents, that's for sure. And forever what's norm for our kids now. How do we get them to teach? You do not have to go that step further.
I live near a high school, and I'm shocked every day when I drive by to see what they're wearing. It
wearing.
amazes me.
Talking. I drive a bus now because they're so short of bus drivers, so I decided, okay, I need something to do in the morning. I drive a bus and go to high school. And you're a new driver, so let's see how far we can go, right? You will teach high school. The other day it was yelling out the window. I haven't heard full language like that for the rest of my life. And I mean,
And it's commonplace.
you sit as driver there, you beat red in the face for driving a high school bus. And I came home and said, really? Well, I'm gonna help you tomorrow. The next day it was all windows up, I turned up the heat in my bus. And it was already 24 degrees and outside. Oh, we're hot. And I said, guys, you had a really hot mouth yesterday. Today, the rest of the bodies can follow. And as soon as you can keep a silver tongue in your mouth, we're going to open the windows again.
Did it
But
work?
unbelievable. Honestly, I've never heard anything like that.
I hear it every day.
So what do you do?
I mean, the reality is that not every family is like your family.
That's right.
And a lot of the language that kids are
I know.
using, it's language that they hear at home.
But it's become acceptable, and I guess that's the point you're making, is how did it get to that point? And then, because it was never stopped. And then where does it go from here?
But where, as a teacher or as a bus driver, new to the school scene, what do you do? Besides cooking every day on bus.
Earplugs.
That's what I said yesterday. It's my bus, and you're not talking like that out. How you talk to each other inside the bus, I can tune you out. But how they yell out the windows, how they
Now, you can't control what they do. All you can control is your own environment. And in my class, it's not acceptable to speak like that. And it's not acceptable to say, oh, that's so gay, or that's so, you're being a fag, or what, like, they might say that, all you can control is what you have, and you hope that by them learning on your bus, they go and they say, can you believe our bus driver, she was so mad at us because we had foul mouths and she turned heat on, and maybe someone says, good for her. You need to watch your mouth.
But it starts a conversation.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. Yesterday they decided to bring raw eggs on the bus, so that was their. But they got caught before, so it never made it to out the window. I think that was the idea of that whole scene yesterday. Instead of yelling out the window to throw okay out the window. But somebody caught them at school, and the principal came out and said, okay guys, hand them over.
And to me, that's the bigger question, is how, obviously I'm older, but how did it get to a point where there is no respect anymore?
That's the thing, there is no respect.
There isn't, and they don't care what you say to them, they don't care. I mean, there was a time, like, you have a mother look, no matter where you are, if someone's misbehaving, you just give them the look and they're like, okay, I'm in trouble, I stop. But they probably just shoot right back at you now if you did something like that. And I find it really disturbing because I don't know where we go from here. I mean, we're already at oral sex. It's just commonplace now, just everybody go ahead. I don't know.
Like, thinking back to the tea video, it's almost like, okay, maybe they want tea, but they don't want milk and sugar in it.